Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Startups Expo powered by TechGenez. Today, we'll be speaking about very important topic in the startups industry, and we have in our midst Mr. Chris Foltz. He's going to give us more insight on everything that we need in order for us to grow our startups. Thanks very much.
I just want to say I'm so happy to be here, with all my friends in Africa. I'm such a fan of the programs that you have. I know my friend Simon Turner's been a guest on this. My name is Chris Foltz,
Yeah,
and it's not the most common African name, but I can absolutely promise you that my passion for Africa
yeah,
and all the things that are going on really what keep me excited about everything.
yeah,
So happy to
awesome.
be here today.
Okay, awesome. So, Mr. Chris, kindly proceed with what you have for us today.
Fantastic. Well, today I want to talk to you about a very interesting subject that I know a lot about, and that is overcoming obstacles. But you see, I don't necessarily know a lot about it because just general purpose. I didn't study it. I've created a lot of obstacles in my life, and I had to solve for these in order to have any success. You see, when we're dealing with the startup world, one thing that we know for certain is this: startups are meant to solve a problem. If you don't solve a problem, you're not actually going to create any value. You're not going to be able to establish market. But a problem is a deep, long standing situation, something that has a lot of hurdles to it. And if you don't address it, there are consequences. That's what gives startups market shares. But we can't confuse problems with obstacles. And your job as a startup founder is to every single day, consistently, at all times, eliminate obstacles, help your company overcome the challenges that are created every single day. See, the thing about obstacles are these aren't permanent fixtures. These are temporary things that slow down the process, that impede your way of having success. So today I'm going to talk to you about some startup obstacles. But you see, what most people would talk about are some of the things that you see up on the screen. And these are a lot of the common startup obstacles that you would find along your journey. And if you want to learn anything about them, I promise you there's plenty of amazing articles online that'll walk you through some of the most common startup challenges. But you see, what I'm here to talk about today is the biggest challenge for all startups when it comes down to obstacles. What is the source of the largest set of obstacles in any startup? I promise it is you. So, what do I mean by that? Well, in my exciting journey, I've happened to experience life from a lot of different perspectives. Before I was in the startup world, I had a lot of aspirations that weren't even business related. But what I realized from the very beginning is that whenever you have a challenge in your life, whenever you have an obstacle, rule number one: do not blame anyone for your obstacles, especially the ones you create yourself. Because when you're creating obstacles yourself and you're blaming people for them, you do one thing: you eliminate the opportunity that you have to actually take control and eliminate that obstacle. So, how did I learn this very important first rule? Well, when I was a little kid, I thought for certain I was going to be an astronaut. I wanted to go to space, and, that was going to be my thing. And then I went to space camp and space academy, and I realized that there was going to be a lot of, well, I'll call them problems, but some would call them obstacles between me at that point in becoming an astronaut in space. I was always what the doctors would call a fat kid. So, just some physical limitations to put me into space were going to be a challenge. But what I found out was that there was a path I could take to actually change that rule. So I went back to my uncle, who was a lobbyist, and he spent a lot of his time in politics. And I learned in space camp that the budget for NASA in the space program was set by United States Congress. So I said to my uncle, said, listen, uncle, I want to run for US Congress. Well, I was about 13 years old at this time and had a long path from there, but he got me involved with the United States Senator. And I ran his youth campaign for him winning his first election and unseating a sitting United States Senator. So we made history in this race. That US Senator introduced me to one of the most influential congressmen in my life. This particular congressman chaired the Small Business Committee for the United States House of Representatives. So it was the first time in my life I got to see how much small business and startup plays an impact not only in our everyday lives, but on main streets across America, on main streets across the world. And all of that was somewhat controlled by this ivory tower in Washington, D.C. And I needed to figure out how to get there. Well, this campaign manager for this wonderful congressman introduced me to this wonderful lady named Elizabeth Dole. Now, a lot of you probably don't know who some of these American political figures are, but I promise you, they played a dramatic role in the United States history and global history. This particular wonderful woman was the president of the American Red Cross, which does a lot of relief efforts around the world. But not just that, she was the Secretary of Transportation and the Secretary of Labor under two different United States presidents. So this lady has accomplished more than most have ever done in the upper echelons of government. But what most people remember her for was her husband, Bob Dole. Now, Bob Dole was a great Senate majority leader, very popular. But at the end of the day, his wife had her own ground in politics. And this is the first time I realized the obstacles that are created sometimes by institution and by systems. Elizabeth Dole decided she wanted to run for president of the United States. That is a lofty goal and a very challenging thing. And the obstacles that she faced to get to the White House were insurmountable. So this guy who happened to be her campaign communication director, Ari, said, "Hey, listen, there's this dude over in Texas in America, and he's going to do some big things." Well, that dude in Texas was George W. Bush. Now, this was my first experience dealing with the presidential campaign. I got to travel where the president went before he went. I got to spend some time on the road. I got to meet people across the country in their support for somebody that ended up being the president of the United States in one of the most interesting campaigns in the world that was chock full of observational opportunities when it comes down to experiencing obstacles and how they play a role in American society and for every business and startup across the planet. Politics really became my thing. You know, every political race in America that was popular, Arnold Schwarzenegger, the governor of Mississippi, I was part of it. You know, by the time before I was even able to vote, I had met multiple US presidents, but this was the first time I was out on my own helping get people elected. You know, I made it into a lot of news, all of these exciting things. You would think that, hey, listen, no obstacles ahead. This guy's on his path to become a US congressman, like I set out to be when I found out I couldn't be an astronaut. And then I came across something I couldn't fix. You see, I'm from a Sicilian family, and my mother spent 35 years of her career in law enforcement. And after that, she was diagnosed with cancer. Now, I didn't know how to handle this, but I knew as a Sicilian kid, I needed to come home and help my mom with anything that I could. So here, it was a problem my mother was facing that not only had some almost impossible obstacles for her to face, but her son was now home trying to do what he could to help. But you see, what happened was I had my wisdom teeth pulled and I had leftover medicine for the pain. And, you know, I ultimately decided that the problems I had in my life, the obstacles I was facing, my mom being sick, I came up with every possible excuse. I started blaming people for obstacles in my life, led me to use 2 months worth of Vicodin in about 2 weeks. And I was completely addicted, living in my mom's basement as she's dying of cancer upstairs. And I'm an opiate addict. I graduated from Vicodin to Oxycontin to full blown heroin addiction. Now, this is after spending time with US presidents. This is after getting people elected that they thought never had a chance. And here in my mom's basement, being a disgrace. And the only thing that stopped me was probably the most tragic event in my life. And my mother died of cancer. Now, my mom was a legend in law enforcement. She changed the way for women's rights when it came down. The idea of police officer versus policeman, that came from people like my mother fighting the cause. But in this wonderful proclamation in the newspaper front page about her death, the only thing that stood out, as opposed to this wonderful title, was this box inside talking about me and how I was arrested at the funeral home when my mother was, having her funeral. And it was, I can't even use the word embarrassing because it's so far beyond that. It was a travesty. I had toiled my mother's legacy. I had destroyed all the work that she'd done. And here I am in the newspaper and my life was over. And you know, you fade out and you wonder, listen, are these obstacles that are absolutely going to be impossible for me to solve? And you see, knowing that problems are things that we face in business and in life that are much harder to deal with, obstacles are supposed to be hurdles. But I got myself into a situation that had so many obstacles, I didn't think I was going to survive. I spent the next 4 months of my life incarcerated in jail. Everything I owned in my entire life was literally thrown away in dumpsters, and I had to start over with nothing. I was homeless. I had to move into a recovery home, and I had to begin. It didn't matter that I worked for presidents. It didn't matter who I knew. It didn't matter for anything. What it mattered was that I was a junkie who started his life over homeless in jail. And what I realized is that in life, in politics, and everything I'd done to that point had always been about celebrating victories. And, it's very easy for us to focus on things when they're going good. But I promise you, all the successes I've had in life, all the successes that led me on the path to be here with you today are because I reacted to my failures. You see, your legacy, your outcomes, your goals in life will be achieved not by focusing on just victories alone, but it's how you react to failures that define who you are, that define where you go. That's the thing that makes your legacy, which brings me to rule number 2. When it comes down to things and obstacles in your life, it's the very important that we do not take a victim stance. Now, we already know there are problems with blaming people, but you see, blaming people is only half the battle. You see, it's easy to take a victim stance. I had a lot of things going against me. I was the one to blame. I was the one who went to jail. I couldn't really blame anyone at this point but myself. But it'd be very easy for me to slip into a situation that says, hey, listen, there's no possible way I'm going to have success in life. The problem with taking a victim stance is just like when it comes down to blaming other people, eliminates your opportunity to make change. This eliminates your ability to find a path around your obstacles, because you see, not every obstacle needs to be eliminated. The reason why the biggest obstacle in business is yourself is because obstacles are often constraints in our mind. There are things that we put up as some sort of hurdle, and we think that we can't necessarily solve them. But you see, let me tell you, the pathway to solving the obstacles, eliminating them, overcoming and circumventing them, starts with taking your obstacles and turning them into solutions for yourself. So I faced 3 very clear obstacles. One, I actually left college to continue on the campaign trail, just a few credits short of graduating. But you see, I didn't have a college degree. And in the US, if you plan on getting any sort of job in the field that I was in, it was required. And I thought for certain I wouldn't be taken seriously. I thought for certain people would say I'm unqualified for pretty much everything. But more importantly, I couldn't just go simply solve that problem and take a class because I had defaulted on my student loans. You see, in America, we like to use credit and borrow money for things that we can't afford. And that's how I paid for college. And so I thought for certain that this was the end of my road. I was never going to be able to solve this problem. And then I decided to look at alternative paths to solving my obstacles. I became a college teacher after spending years on the road speaking. I became an adjunct professor at Columbia College, one of the best schools in Chicago, Illinois, in which I was ranked one of the top professors in the entire entrepreneurship and business department. This is without having a college degree. Define the status quo, because I set out to find a way to share my message, to teach people how you can accomplish things even without a degree, how you can change the status quo. The school I went to, Western Illinois University, I'm like, I'm not an alumni. I cared about the school. I went there for 5 years. Supposed to take 4. I went for 5, still didn't get a degree. I didn't think they even knew who I was. And then when I found out that I was an alumni, I set out to create the largest alumni initiative that's ever been created at the institution. We have over 20,000 people supporting the institution through a program that I created, and I don't even have a degree from the school. And that brings me to Founder Institute. You know, that's probably been some of the most prolific teaching experiences I've had in my life. I have the honor of serving as a global entrepreneur in residence for Founder Institute based out of Silicon Valley. So I've worked with wonderful startups like all of you, and mentor on 6 continents, and work with hundreds of leaders each week. Because you see, at the end of the day, the no college degree only prevented me from having a college degree. It didn't prevent me from having the opportunities to learn. It didn't prevent me from having the opportunities to teach. And it didn't prevent me from getting on this stage with you today. Problem number 2, I'm a felon and I'm a former drug addict. Now, I can't begin to tell you there's a stigma when it comes to addiction. Everybody knows that. There's legal limitations. I don't even have all my civil rights, but I did the crime. I had to do the time. This is over 15 years ago, and it doesn't change. It's for life. And the career prospects are low because of that. You see, when you are a drug addict, when you have legal limitations, people aren't going to take you seriously. But then I decided well, I'm going to start a business that helps people eliminate obstacles because I already set out and found a way to work around obstacles. So I started my first big company, CRISPR Foltz and Company. It grew to be the fastest growing communication strategy firm in all of America. We had clients all over, celebrities, media personalities, large corporations, because we helped them overcome their obstacles. But then I'm still a felon. I'm still a drug addict. But you see, I was on probation. The government was overlooking me. So less than 10 years from the date I was a drug addict, that particular government agency, that organization that was in charge of my felony probation became my client. Talk about a victory when you go from being inside the jail to having them as a client of yours. You're doing something right. But you see, along that path, being a felon, being a former addict didn't stop me from in 2021 being named one of the top 100 chief marketing officers and change agents in the entire world by the Institute for Real Growth. And it wasn't because I had some college degree. It wasn't because, I knew everything about marketing. It was because I knew how to face obstacles head on and help people get results, even when they're facing challenges that most people would give up from. Which brings me to my problem number 3. And to me, this was the biggest problem. If the other two weren't enough, I was canceled from politics. You see, I spent my entire life in politics. I didn't know anything else from the age of less than 12 years old until at that point, 25 years old. That is all I did. Most people had barely graduated college. I already worked on multiple campaigns and met 5 US presidents. But you see, I knew for most importantly that it's all I ever did, but I would never get elected. See, I'm a felon heroin addict. Who wants to elect that? Now, I know we elected Donald Trump, but it was a different case back then. And most importantly, at the time, all I knew was the Republican Party, not necessarily the party of popularity now, but I was more or less blackballed from the grand old party in America, and I was an outcast. So I handled this one a little bit different. You see, when the Republicans said no, I got involved with the Democrats. Governor of California, Mayor of Chicago, U.S. Senator from Illinois, Secretary of State, Howard Dean, Chairman of the Democrat Party. I rose quicker in the Democrat Party than I ever did in the Republican Party because I help candidates eliminate obstacles to actually helping people in society make changes, help make communities better. I got the first female elected mayor in 100 years. I spent 3 terms in public office myself. After everyone told me it was impossible to ever do it, after I lost hope, I carved a path around my obstacles. And as opposed to getting elected to office, I helped get this wonderful lady elected to office. And I got appointed to chairman to the largest commission in the municipality. You see, when oftentimes you're faced in with obstacles that almost seem impossible, it's not necessarily about eliminating them. It's about finding paths around them. And then once you do that, once you found that victory for yourself, it brings me to rule number 3, my final rule. And I'll have 2 quick case studies and send you on your way today. Rule number 3 is once you understand how you can eliminate barriers for yourself, how you can solve for obstacles to get you on the way, it's very important that you help other people eliminate those same obstacles in their life, in their business. And it may sound like it's an easy thing, but it's not necessarily always the case. You see, what we have to do is we need to think about obstacles that actually matter, but they need to be large enough to matter, solve a big enough problem, just like all of your startups, but they need to be small enough for us to break down and solve, because an obstacle that you can't solve becomes a problem. And you see, when you don't eliminate this for other people, you prevent them from becoming problems for yourself. But you see, you have the ability to do it, not them. So I set out the rest of my life to help people eliminate their own problems. I'm going to talk to you about 2 quick case studies of where people have taken rule 3 and gone to the next level. Sometimes when you eliminate obstacles for yourself, you're eliminating for someone else. I'm going to tell you briefly about one of my clients back in the day. His name was Dr. Sev. Dr. Sev was a wonderful medical professional, but he's also an unbelievable investor in small business, technology, and startups. He owns a professional basketball team, hockey team, soccer team. He's the real deal. And he came to me and said, "Hey, Chris, I've got this surgical center. I've got this brand new idea, new technology, new ideation. And all we have to do is solve a couple minor problems. Our business is shared suite. It's just like WeWork. It's like shared office space, but for surgeons doing surgery on people. Super innovative at the time. His main customer was surgeons. How they get paid is surgeries happen. The surgery money gets split between the surgeon and the facility that handles all the rest. That means they're handling anesthesia, they're handling all the tools, they're handling all the medical insurance outside of the surgeon's insurance. So, believe it or not, the majority of money that goes to surgery goes to pay the facility expenses more than what actually pays that world renowned surgeon. But you see, his customers, the surgeons, they had their own customers, and that was the patients. And they shared the same problem, the surgeons and my client. You see, what would happen is in America, we don't have a universal healthcare system. So private insurance is the most common way that people are covered. Cash pay is not really a regular option that most people pay for large surgeries. And then for the people that can't afford insurance, they're on government aid. But the problem with insurance is it comes with limitations. They may pay 90% of the cost of your surgery, but if you can't come up with that 10%, they're not paying the 90, there is no surgery. And for those people where the government's paying 100% of it, sometimes that not enough. They can't afford to literally get across town and go to the surgical center and take the 2 days off work necessary to recover. So what we realized is that the obstacles that we faced were small. And in order for us to get paid, in order for us to keep the surgical center into its launch track and get this off the ground, we needed to eliminate obstacles that were well beyond the scope of our original intention. But just like every business, they have to spend money on marketing. So what we figured out was that when we added up all these co-pays, when we added up all these individual expenses that would come, that would prevent people from actually being able to get the surgery. Mind you, the surgery is what pays the bills for my client. We realized that by paying all these small amounts and using that as our technique for marketing and go to market to help eliminate this barrier, it was less expensive than traditional marketing campaigns. So we came up with this clever idea. We called it Project Hugs, helping uninsured get surgery. We created an initiative. On a Monday, we came up with this concept. On a Tuesday, we built the website that you see on the left. On a Wednesday, we built a team of advisors. We built a kind of a cool kids table, people from the media, doctors, celebrities. I'm down at the bottom, not really a celebrity, but I was there. These were going to be people to help us spread the message. And by Friday of that week, we got an interesting invitation to an event by a guy by the name of Bill Clinton. And the Clinton Global Initiative came to Chicago that year and they said, hey, listen, we recognize what you're doing here and we think it's clever. And we walked out of that week with a $10 million commitment from the Clinton Global Initiative to eliminate those small gaps and barriers, to open the door for people getting life-changing surgery. You see, what set out to be a small intention of launching an idea, we realized that by solving an obstacle that we shared with our customers and our customers shared with their customers, by solving that small thing, we created a pathway to solution for everybody else. It was so popular that it even got the eye of somebody else that you all may know, Michelle Obama. We're all in our Project Hugs buttons right there. And she really loved and supported the idea. Here's all of us at an event with her when we were celebrating the launch of Project Hugs. So that's an amazing thing that came out of a solution that never would have happened if we didn't take a time to realize that we could eliminate obstacles not only for ourselves, but for the people that we cared about. Final case study is when sometimes you eliminate shared obstacles, but that becomes your goal. We're the last one. It helped them attain their goal. Here's somebody I worked with where eliminating shared obstacles actually became their business. Monica came to me one day. She said, hey, Chris, I've got this shoe store called Style Up Girl. Now, this was back in the day. The company's got a new name now. It was sold off. It was a very successful exit. But I'm like, what kind of shoes you sell? And she came to me with these kind of like exotic, kind of scary shoes. And I'm like, well, what's the deal with that? She's like, listen, they're very popular. But Chris, one thing interesting happened. I was walking to the office the other day and down the street, I came across the guy who was on the side of the street with a sign that says, I need shoes. Now, I don't want to make an assumption, but I could assume he possibly was homeless. I've been there. I know what it's like. But you see, what she said she wanted to do is she wanted to create something called Happy Box. So when people bought shoes on her store, they would have a box already for the shoes. And inside of it would be a prepaid mailing label that would allow them to mail an old pair of shoes back. And what we were going to do is collect all these old pair of shoes and make sure that every single person we saw on the streets of Chicago that didn't have a pair of good shoes had them. But what we said is Happy Box wasn't a good enough name to get this done. So we needed something more descriptive. So we came up with Give Back Box. We got the domain. We made our first marketing graphic, got our social media graphic up, and it was time to do our first pilot. We created some simple mock-up graphics to show people. We created an envelope to put inside of the box when people bought shoes. And then we waited and we got our first boxes back. This is in one of my offices in Chicago. Monica and her business partner there. And here we had the first 3 boxes. Now, I was so excited to see. I was worried a bit about the quality of the shoes, but the intention mattered here. We wanted to solve an obstacle for people that weren't ourselves. This was a marketing campaign to take Style Up Girl to the market. Then we opened the boxes of shoes and the next box of shoes, and there wasn't shoes in there. It was baby items, it was clothes, it was educational material, it was brand new shoes in some of the boxes, new outfits. Some of them even had technology pieces in there. You see, people may not have had shoes, especially the people that were buying these designer shoes. They didn't have the kind of shoes that would mail back and actually help somebody's life that didn't have any pair of shoes. They had things that didn't even make sense sometimes. But what we realized is that people liked the idea. So we did some press exposure on this. We drew attention to the results, and we got a call from this website called Karma Loop. It was a very popular fashion website in America. They're like, listen, we got slightly bigger boxes. We want to help you do this, and we want to give it a pilot ourselves. And we did it. It was amazing. It was the first time. We actually came up with another problem that we had. We needed to find a place to mail everything. We couldn't mail them to my office. So we partnered up with Goodwill, which is one of the largest providers of opportunity for people that are starting their lives over, running their stores, making gently used items available to people, and oftentimes given away for people in need. But then another company came to us, Newegg, and they said, listen, Chris, we got even bigger boxes. We got a computer business here. We can really get a lot of cool things sent back. That prompted somebody else by the name of Michael Dell and his company Dell to say, hey, listen, we've got even bigger boxes than all of them. We make big computers. Imagine how much change we can do in your campaign. Now, one of Monica's original goals was to get her shoes on Amazon, and making sure that more people had access to them. But we never in a million years thought that we were going to get the next call from Amazon. And Amazon said, hey, listen, we really love what you're doing, and we want to make this our holiday promotion this year. And we want to make this available to all the people that are buying items on Amazon to actually pilot this. And it was so successful. Where it's at today, distribution centers across America solving problems at such a large scale for people. And it's all because they took a moment to realize that sometimes a pivot actually gets you towards the solution that you never thought. And in this case, it was solving an obstacle for people that wanted to give back but didn't have a means to do it. This was solving an obstacle for Monica, who felt that she didn't have a way to easily give back to people on the streets that didn't have shoes in Chicago. And this is where it's gone today, something that started off as a go-to-market campaign with the goal of just making somebody's day brighter, turned into this global impact device that has become a turnkey solution for all these manufacturers and all these brands that you see on the screen right here today. That's commitment. That's changing the world. That's doing things for the right reasons. You see, what I've realized, the most important thing along my journey is that whenever you have an opportunity to share your story, whenever you have an opportunity to reflect back on your life and help people understand the challenges you faced, help them work through obstacles in ways that solve their problems. You see, that authenticity of character, that's the new disruptive. So many people come to me and say, hey, Chris, listen, I've got this disruptive idea. We're changing the way things are done in Africa. I've got this new technology that's going to revolutionize Ghana. I've got a new tech apparatus that's going to change the life across Uganda. I hear it every single day. But you see, the strongest form of disruptive that I see in modern times is authenticity. And I really appreciate the opportunity taking some time with you today. I'm going to leave you with this final notion. And I learned this, and I relearn it quite regularly. You see, one thing that I know for certain, that if you do things for the right reasons, your startups for the right reasons, solve problems for the right reasons, work with people for the right reasons, care about your customers, care about your stakeholders, you do things for the right reasons, I promise you that they won't end for the wrong reasons. I had to learn this lesson a very hard way multiple times over, but I promise you it's been the most effective lesson in my life. And I really appreciate the time here today. I know we didn't have much time together, but I look forward to any opportunity we have. And I'll be available. You can always visit our website, responsible.com. Go to that contact form, and I promise I'll meet with you. I'd like to help you all eliminate obstacles, but more importantly, I'd like to help you become vehicles to eliminating obstacles for everyone else. So I really appreciate the time we had today at Startup Expo's first weekend edition. So I feel real strong about that. So I thanks for having me on that. It seems pretty cool.
Yeah, Mr. Chris, thanks very much. You've really educated us today. And I'm very impressed, like all the challenges that you face in life, everything, and you
Oh,
being able
trust
to
me, I got
just
more. I just
learn.
didn't want to scare you guys.
Wow.
I was an obstacle creation machine.
Wow, impressive, impressive. You've really done well. Like you've built that kind of resilience, and that's very impressive. Many people would have given up. Yeah,
Well,
but
the
you
strongest,
got.
the most, and I'll say this to everyone, just so everyone knows, isn't from an investor standpoint, from an advisor standpoint. My business partner is a prolific investor, one of the leading people who revolutionized Silicon Valley, and we both agree on something. We look for grit, the ability for people to take their experiences in life and use them to overcome obstacles in their day-to-day business.
Wow.
That's the first thing we look for. It's not so much about upside possibilities. It's about how you eliminate downside risk. And I promised all of you, study grit, learn how to be gritty. That'll change your lives.
Impressive. So we have few questions here from some founders and everything. So I would like to share them with you. So the first question we have here is, let me see, let me share the questions to you. So the first question is like, let's say if you are faced with the challenge of, let's say as a founder, you are faced with the challenge of maybe sometimes funding, okay, capital. And like example, especially when you have a team and the team is demanding their maybe their pace and stuff like that, and you're not
Yeah.
getting, yeah, it's very hectic. So with that challenge, what would be your best advice to people going through those such problems? And
I think
yeah,
it's a great question and a very common question. And a lot of
yeah,
people kind of be say, Chris, listen, I need you to introduce me to some investors. You know, we have a 24-hour window to get this accomplished. We have all of this upside potential. You invest in us, and unicorns are going to rain from the sky. But you see, the strongest advice I can give everyone is stop trying to get people to say yes. Instead, make it hard for them to say no. You see, investment is about two things, right? It's about picking the right upside potential. But before that, and what matters even more, is picking things that have limited downside risk. So when I say, you know, getting people to say yes is simply telling about all the great things you can do to change the world. You see, changing the world isn't even that sexy anymore. You see, I had a 14-year-old client that changed the world. I changed the world once before my life. I've been around people that have changed the world dozens of times. You see, what is
yeah,
important now is changing your industry forever, something that's measurable. So focus on eliminating downside risk and team traction and then terms. Team traction and then terms. That order is what I find to be the most important thing. So make sure that those three things have the least amount of risk and the most upside potential. And it makes it hard
wow.
for people to say no.
Great, impressive. So, thanks very much for your time today, and we are very grateful. Thanks very much. You've dedication, everything, the resilience, everything. Thanks very much. And with that kind of zeal and perseverance that we have in you, you nailed the topic. So, thanks very much, and thanks very much for your time
Thanks for having
today.
me.
So, we're very grateful. We'll connect and have you on the show another time.
I look forward to, and I
Thank
look
you.
for connecting with people
Yeah.
offline as well, my friend. So make that happen for me.
Yeah, so LinkedIn, everything. So Mr. Chris is on LinkedIn. You can search Chris Foltz, or you can connect with me. You'll see him in my connection list. And if you join my newsletter, I've already made a publication about him, so you can connect with him over there. And if you have any question regarding startup industry, anything regarding startups, you can reach out to him, and he will be happy to help you. So connect with him on LinkedIn. Search the name Chris Foltz, and just get the start going. Don't let anything stop you. Yeah. So never give up. So thank you very much, Mr. Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so next section, we'll be having a startup from Turkey, Istanbul. Yeah, be having a startup from Turkey, Istanbul. So get ready as we connect you to the amazing startups, innovative companies happening around the world. We'll be right back. Thank you.
everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. So, thanks very much for joining us. So, we have let's start out from Turkey, Istanbul. Yeah. So, Halil, walk us through grad go.
Okay. Today I'm going to talk you about a personal package delivery system, Cargo. So in the past couple years, there have been problems rising in the package delivery system. I mean, shipping industry. One of them, and the most important one, is the late delivery. 62% of the packages are delivered later than estimated delivery time, approximately 1 to 7 days. And the pricing, because due to the war and the COVID, shipping prices were increased 100% in 2021 and 40% in the beginning of 2022. And in June, I believe it was either June or July, the prices were increased again around 30%. So in total, it's approximately 65% in 2022. And there isn't any sustainable package delivery systems. This industry, I mean the shipping industry, emits 940 million tons of the carbon dioxide annually. So we find a solution for these problems: a mobile platform that brings package senders and those who travels often. So we have three motto on Cargo: save money when you send a package, earn money by delivering packages, deliver while you travel. So those are the secrets of the Cargo. In the middle, it's the main screen. On the right side, I mean this the in the cargo details page, you can send if you want to send a cargo, I mean a package, you need to use this screen. On the left side, you will see I have a space. So this screen means that I have enough space to deliver cargoes. So our value proposition is simple. For senders, we aimed at fast delivery with affordable prices. And additionally, sender can choose the courier, contact with the courier all the time, instant tracking, and the courier evaluation. I mean, the feedback system for the carrier, which are those who travel often. They can earn extra money, get easy payments, choose package to be delivered, and feedback system for the sender. Our impact actually, our Gregory Cargo has an impact with United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 12 and 13. Furthermore, if you want to send a package with the traditional package delivery system, I mean UPS, DHL, or any other traditional package delivery system, it doesn't matter. If you want to send 1 kilogram of the cargo with these systems, it emits 720 grams of carbon dioxide extra. So that is a huge problem. But if you use Graka cargo, you don't cause emitting extra carbon dioxide. So, so what is the difference between traditional package delivery system and Graka cargo? It is simple. With Graka cargo, no vehicles are used to send cargo, to deliver cargo. It is intended for people who are already traveling to carry cargo. Thus, it was built on the cargo sharing economy. I want to explain this phrase a little bit further. For example, if you are going to France from United States, and if I have a package from United States to France on Gregory Cargo, we can find each other, and I can send my package with you to France, and you can earn money from this one. So our revenue model is 20 percentage per delivery. Our what was the head of? Okay, our customer segments are senders, everyone who is over 18 and who wants to send cargoes packages, and the second segment is the those who travel often, anyone who travels often and over 18 years old. I want to give a little bit information about the market. In 2020, the global market size has reached to $21 trillion, and Turkish market size reached to 400 billion Turkish liras. In 2002, 131 billion packages were sent, and around 62 billion of the packages delivered delivered late. But in Turkey, it's a little bit worse than the global market size, because while a billion packages were delivered, almost 80% of these packages delivered late. Our competitors, any shipping company right now, are competitors. So, for example, UPS, Arascorco, uh, personal package delivery systems, or DHL, or FedEx, or USPS, you can name it. There are 158,000 shipping company all around the world. So all of them are my competitor. So, but we have differences from those companies. For example, we are green solution. We have traceability because we have instant tracking compared to other ones. We have interaction. Users can interact with each others. We all of them, including my competitors, has a revenue, but we use a little bit higher tag compared to the rest of the world, and our prices are affordable. So I'm sorry about the coughing. I'm a little bit sick, so sorry about that. So first of all, we are, as I mentioned earlier, slide, we are sustainable solution. We have a feedback system that courier and the center can comment and rate each other, and we create a sharing economy. Additionally, we use instant tracking. So our advantages. So if you use smartphone, and if you have internet connection, you can use Grab Cargo in all over the world. It doesn't matter. We already opened our Grab Cargo to global market, and pricing. Our prices calculated by our special algorithms. And company structure, I want to mention this one. We are like a Uber, Airbnb, or BlaBlaCar, if you name it. So we don't have any courier work for our company. So we can create extra budget for R&D. We use KYC system, know your customer system. If you know that, I'm not sure about that. So we are validating the user with KYC system, and we use package insurance. Our team consists of 7 people. I am the CEO and the founder. My wife is my co-founder. He's working for the Ministry of Ministry of Environment. So she is responsible of our sustainable impact. We have a growth hacker. We have additionally we have one graphic designer and three software developers. So what we have done so far, so we created our prototype, we did our alpha and beta test. I want to explain it a little bit more. We used 1000 test users and 8344 test packages for tests, and we accomplished all tested with 100% success. Right now, we are marketing and user acquisition. We are in the market for like a 45 days. Right now, we have more than 2,000 active users. Uh, And right now, additional this stage, we're also developing our product every second according to feedbacks. So we need a seed investment, $245,000. We planning to use the 60% of marketing, 30% of the salaries, and 10% of other expenses. Our runaway time is 12 months. In 12 months, we are planning to reach $1 million revenue. So we did the market. You can see our achievements so far. So we did the market validation with the pool share, carpooling. I mean, ride sharing application users. So 83 percentage of the ride sharing users intend to carry cargos packages instead of new people because they think it is more safer. So what we have done, it's a roadmap on the other thing. In 2021 November, we started to do our market search. We completely validate the market. We work for the legals. You know, there is a always legal problem. So we hired our lawyers and we start production. 2020 July, we launch our product in App Store and Google Play Store and start user acquisition. In meantime, we also made a collaboration with the influencers, you know, especially for the travel. The influencer focus on the travel, so they start their streams on Instagram and TikTok. Right now, we are growing our team, and 2024, we want to dominate the global market. Thank you for listening to me. You can reach me through these phone numbers or info@cargo.com, or you can simply visit our website. Thank you very much.
Okay, impressive. Okay, so Khalil, thanks very much for the precious presentation that you've shared with us.
You're very
And
welcome.
yeah, and the next thing is, so currently, how is the market like in Turkey?
I mean, you mean the market or the general economic situation in Turkey?
Yeah, the markets, like the market in Turkey. How are you coping
Okay,
with the
so
big players? Yeah.
let me tell you this one. So there's economic problems in Turkey right now because of the devaluation of the Turkish lira. So one United States dollar is around 20 Turkish price right now. So the market size is getting smaller and smaller, uh, and for especially construction market is getting smaller, and all sub markets around the construction is getting smaller. But our market, I mean the shipping market, is getting bigger and bigger.
Okay, so basically, if you're joining us, this Grag Grag Go is a startup based in Istanbul, Turkey. So what they do is basically they have a platform, mobile platform. Basically, when you are traveling, let's say I need to deliver a package to Istanbul, I need to deliver a package to somewhere. Instead of using the delivery companies and stuff like that, the charges are high and everything. So basically, they connect you to someone who is traveling traveling to the destination you want to ship the product to. Then the person will pick it up. Then the person will send the product to you. So using that approach, what happens is that one, the item gets to you faster, and also the delivery time is very fast as compared to, let's say, if you ship, you're using shipping service and everything.